Yeah, when we dine out as a society, we don't tend to pay as close attention as we should. And we think that we're eating very healthy, but we're really not. And we have to really take charge and not be afraid to ask for what we want. Because in reality, if we, the client, did not go to that person's restaurant, they would be out of business. So they should want to please us. So with that in mind, go to them as, look, I'm the client, and this is what I want if I choose to eat in your restaurant. And most restaurants now are much better about it and much more willing to accommodate because they want you to come back and be happy. So if you were to go to a Mexican food restaurant and you ordered chicken fajitas, that is about 2,000 calories, 98% saturated fat. And that is one of the lower things that you can order cholesterol, calorie-wise on the menu. So with that in mind, if you say, I'd like to order the chicken fajitas off the lean menu plan that you've got offered here, you might save 200 calories. But if you were a smart person and you had taken your diet into consideration, you would say, I'd like to have the chicken fajitas, but I'd like those grilled with no oil. The only difference is it won't come sizzling to the plate. It'll come sitting on your plate, not sizzling. But you've saved about 800 calories literally in all that oil and grease that now is not going into your body without the taste difference. If you go a little further and you cut off the guacamole and the sour cream, which is also laden in fat, if you're trying to be careful and not get too much in, then you're going to knock off another 500 calories depending on how much you're eating in those products. So, and I always tell people, do a whole bean when you're out, pinto or black. Don't do a refried because refried is laden in sodium. So you can cut out all that sodium and all that fat just by making some correct choices but feel like you're eating the exact same meal. It's pretty simple. And when you go out to a decent restaurant and you say, I'd like your grilled salmon or your grilled fish, could you tell me how many ounces that is? Because if you are on a balanced food diet, and you're supposed to have 6 ounces of meat, fish, chicken, and you end up eating 10 to 12 ounces because it looks that way to you, but it's really not, and you can't be bothered to ask, you've just created a whole imbalance in your day. Your body says, well, now you've had way too much protein for what you need. We're going to dehydrate, and we're going to burn muscle and store fat. So there goes your diet, just because you couldn't say, how many ounces is that? And if your waiter or waitress doesn't know, ask them to check with the chef. Because if the back area doesn't know how much ounce of meat or produce they're giving you, they're going to go out of business. They need to know so they know how to order and what they're going to serve each person. They'll know. You just have to ask. Vegetables, a lot of times are just sitting in oil. Fishes are sitting in oil. They're going to grill all that up and give it to you because it's faster and easier for them to do that. Anytime you order cheese out, it's going to be high fat, up to 28 grams per ounce, because it's less time consuming for reordering, it'll store longer, and there's not a problem there. So if they order a low-fat cheese, they may be afraid that they're going to lose money because they're not going to use it fast enough because it's not going to store the same as the high-fat cheeses that if it gets mold on it, they just cut the mold off and continue to use the cheese. So, be a smart consumer and say, can I have this cooked this way? Could you tell me how many ounces it is? Can I get the grilled vegetables? And if they cannot do it in oil, then just say, well, instead of having the grilled vegetables in oil, if you can't steam it for me, can I have the salad bar? And can I get the dressing on the side? And ask them what dressings they have. Order the low-fat or the fat-free dressings. Or order balsamic and no oil. So there's so many things that you can do and change when you're out to stay accommodating to whatever you need to on your food plan. And it still tastes great. There's really no taste difference. So it's just a matter of making, substitutions. There's even fast food places that you can go to that do have some healthy choices. Like Carl's Jr., for an example, has a barbecue chicken sandwich that, if I ever order that, I say, can I get your barbecue chicken sandwich no sauce, because I don't like all the high sodium sauce on it. I will work the sauce into certain menu plans that people really like that. But I've got to work that sodium in, because if I don't, their sodium's going to be over the top. And usually it's a grilled chicken breast, which is 3 ounces. It's not shut up with a bunch of steroids. It comes on a whole grain bun, and it's lettuce and tomato. So there are places that accommodate for those things. You can go to Subway and you can order a turkey sandwich or a chicken sandwich on whole wheat, 6-inch, and just tell them what vegetables you want on there, but don't do the mayonnaise and don't do the oil. Don't do the avocado and the bacon at that particular time, because typically they're not measuring how much avocado they're giving you. And while avocado is a monounsaturated fat and good for you, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So if you're eating half of an avocado and it's more than your allocated fat for that day, you're in trouble, because it will go to your hips the same way. So you have to make sure that you're balancing your day correctly. So it's, again, don't choose choices of foods that there are certain fast food places that I will leave unmentioned that will inject fat into the meat to make it more juicy and appealing to the client. So you're getting a huge amount of fat, up to 1,500 calories and 28 grams of fat in one piece of chicken in some places, because of the 3 cc's of fat they've shot into that chicken. So you have to really pay attention to the fast food place that you choose if you choose a fast food choice.
Now, do they do that at each restaurant, or do they do that at the factory, the plant, before it comes out here?
Well, it depends on the restaurant. Usually it's done at the factory. You know, most fast food places, they get everything in, they throw it into the, into the broiler or whatever they're doing, or they're saturated in oil when they're cooking it. So you've not only got that pre-shot up in fat, but now you're dumping it in a lot of fat, and that's absorbing into it. And it's just, you're eating a very, very high fat toxic meal. So it's just being aware of, where am I eating? What am I choosing? Wouldn't it be better to go here? I mean, there's a lot of places that are very careful about the products that they use. They will give you, they have organic choices that you can use. They have wild fish. Those are the places I tend to trend to want to choose a better choice. There are even vegan restaurants that, and not all vegan product is great, but there are some that, you can choose wisely and have a very healthy meal, rather than picking everything that's high in fat. I mean, you don't typically want to go somewhere and say, well, I'm not eating meat, so let me get a fried falafel. There you got all the oil again. So you have to be aware of your choices and just be smart about what it is that you're doing. It doesn't mean that you can never have that particular food again. It just means that until you get to your goal, and until your disease is gone, or until and it doesn't take a long period of time, until you've reached maybe a body fat goal. Once you've got in that ideal range, you can get away with a couple of splurges in your week. Your lean mass burns it off. And talking about that, when you look at alcohol, I mean, alcohol enters your system as a simple carbohydrate. But unlike the carbohydrate, there's no B6 vitamin in the alcohol. So your storehouse gets robbed of the B6 vitamin to try to work through this assimilating the alcohol. And your body basically stores that nutrient as fat once it deals with what it can accumulate and assimilate through the B6 that it uses. And you don't have a big storage of B6. And I have a lot of people in the medical profession that says, well, can't I just give myself a shot of B6? No, because your body will not store in excess of what it's used to. It won't do that. Again, you can't trick your body into doing something it's not going to. So for one 6-ounce glass of wine, a 12-ounce beer, or 1 ounce of hard liquor, you will deplete your B6 for the week in one of those choices. Anything that you do in excess, you will store as fat. So if you're storing all this as fat and the acetate in the liver, your body's going to end up burning that first and storing fat. So it's a mechanism that you can't get away from. If you're trying to lose fat, you will not. If you're drinking alcohol during trying to diet, it just won't. Or any case of the matter, people go, I know it's the alcohol, but if you just stop drinking the excess, it's not a problem. When you get into an ideal range, your B6 actually doubles and sometimes triples depending on the size of the person. But then you can actually get away with a few drinks in your week. Not that I would recommend that, but at least your body can deal with it on a more apprehensive level, so to speak.